The Florida Gators desperately need to continue adding to their offensive line for the 2025 recruiting cycle. We're going to talk about that here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Happy Tuesday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Nissan. If you're the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further and you wonder what adventure could be right around the next corner, take the Nissan Rogue, Pathfinder, or Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. And like I said, the Florida Gators desperately need to continue adding to their offensive line because, yes, you added Peyton Joseph last month. And, yes, you added Enoch Wangoi 3 days ago at this point on Saturday night. But can't stop there and can't stop with the blue chip talent, which of course Enoch is not a blue chip talent. He's more of a long-term project. Peyton Joseph is blue chip, but you need to continue adding blue chip talent to this class. You look at your projected starters for the Florida Gators for the 2024 season, and your tackles are Austin Barber, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon. You also got Cam Waits and Devin Manuel there. Your center, Jake Slaughter with Rod Kearney behind him. Guard, Damian George and Najee Harris. You got Riley Simons behind you. You got a few guys behind them at both of the guard spots. But when you look at those five, like the main five being Austin Barber, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, Jake Slaughter, Damian George, and Najee Harris, when you look at those five, all of them, except for Najee Harris, are draft eligible this year. And not just draft eligible, but Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, I believe, is going to be out of eligibility after this season in college. So he's going to be gone. You can look at, hey, maybe Devin Manuel wins the starting spot opposite Austin Barber or wins one of the starting spots. Then he could be gone. Like there's a lot of players on this offensive line that can be gone. And if the offensive line has a bounce back year, like if Austin Barber performs at the level that was kind of expected of him in 2023, if Damian George moves to guard and has a stellar year, because he does have another year of eligibility after this, if Damian George moves to guard and has a great year, he's going to be gone. Even if he has a good year, he's probably going to be gone because you don't want to be in college forever and then go to the NFL draft. It benefits you to hop out earlier, especially if you're a guard, your first year of guard's a good year. Then you have that's the Anthony Richardson argument, right? It's like, yeah, there's bad film out there, but this is your first year at this position or first year starting at this position. Here's what we saw here, and you're going to go up from here, right? Because this was your first year playing it. You didn't have that experience. So if Damian George has a good year at guard, he could be gone, which, again, I know that the fan base is very sour on Damian George right now, but he's moved to guard. If he plays well there, Gators fans are going to go, all right, come on back. And he's probably going to be gone. So you look at guys that could have a bounce back year, or you could look at it as guys that are going to feel younger players kind of breathing down their necks. Damian George has an average year and says, maybe another year in college is going to benefit me. But he's got Najee Harris, he's got Rod Kearney maybe, he's got Bryce Lovett maybe, he's got all those guys. Also at guard. Of course, Najee is expected to be a starter, but he's got all those guys at guard that could be breathing down his neck, taking playing time. Maybe he hits the draft or the portal. Jake Slaughter. I know the last year had some downs. I'm going to say I think he had a great year. I've said that, so often now that I think Jake Slaughter had a phenomenal year in 2023. I think especially considering the expectations for him going into the year of, hey, maybe you play a little bit, but we don't expect you to do much. I think that was just fantastic play there. If he has another really good year, there's no reason he should come back. There's just not. So you're at risk of losing a lot of your production that now this year, we're like, all right, a lot of these guys are coming back for year two in a starting role. They're going to be big. And then in 2025, you could be talking about, okay, we're going to be replacing them again, which of course, good teams constantly replace starters. But good teams tend to have quality depth there. And you look at the legitimate possibility that you're replacing 4 starters in 2025, like 4 of your 2024 starters could be replaced in 2025. You need a lot of quality depth behind there. And right now there's a lot of youth on the Florida Gators team on the offensive line. There is. In the past few years, they brought in not a plethora of talent, but they've brought in a good deal of guys, but not blue chip talent, which is a big concern that Florida Gators fans, myself included, have had on the offensive line. And we're still kind of waiting for that one to actually hit properly a little bit, of adding that blue chip talent consistently instead of just one guy a year on the offensive line as a blue chip player. But when you're projecting that many guys, because again, you've added a lot of guys, not a lot of quality guys, you've added a lot of players. When you're projecting that much, like we say this all the time on Locked On Gators, when you project that much, odds are not all of them are going to live up to that. Not all of them are going to pan out. And so let's say, and it's much closer to 50-50 than I think people like to talk about, where you've added, 12 offensive linemen to this point? If you can get 6 of them to give you starter quality snaps, great. But guess what? You've already lost a few of them from the 2022 class that you recruited. So you've lost a couple of those guys. Your 2023 class, we saw Najee Harris play last year, but aside from that, that was kind of it. Even though there are many guys high on Rod Kearney, like I'm very high on what Rod Kearney can become. You got Fletcher Westphal for 2024 that's proven. Caden Jones from last year we didn't really see, but you have those guys. But odds are not all of them are going to pan out. And even if those 3 pan out in addition to Najee Harris, that's still not a complete offensive line of quality talent right there. And you're not considering depth. Like the Florida Gators, this is like, I don't even know what you want to call it. Threat level midnight is how we're going to go with it on the offensive line. Like, you need to bring in multiple blue chip players. And that's something that the Florida Gators haven't done to this point. Rob said, I know, yes, you brought in Caden Jones and Rod Kearney, who were both blue chip players. But 2 in 3 years, or 2 in 1 year, and then 1 in 2022 and 1 in 2024. That's not awesome, right? That's what, an average of 1.3 per year. You need to bring in multiple guys. Look at like what Michigan did in the 2024 class, at least before Harbaugh left, was they were just like offensive line, like out the wazoo. They were bringing them in. And like Florida, you have to kind of adapt that. You have to kind of adopt that. You do, because your offensive line was atrocious in 2023. 2024 probably going to be better, but 2025 you could be legitimately replacing 4 starters. Not exactly the spot you want to be in with so much unproven depth, and especially depth that's inexperienced, completely inexperienced, and starting from behind anyway. And by that I mean starting as low 3-star, mid 3-star, whatever it may be. And not that blue chip talent, which again, a lot of the blue chip guys just have those elite athletic traits. That's what you want, right? So Florida Gators offensive line desperately needs to get better recruiting wise for the 2025 cycle. You got to hammer it home. You've got 2 guys committed now. One's a blue chip. One's a complete Matt Olsen swing. I know we got a few Braves fans here. Just a complete swing there. And you desperately need to improve your recruiting on the offensive line for the 2025 cycle. We're going to dip into the NFL and college basketball for the Florida Gators for the rest of the show. But first, we're going to get a quick word from Nissan. If you're the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further, if you ever wondered what could be right around the next corner adventure-wise, our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. And like I've mentioned, kind of a lot and kind of annoyingly, I live in New York City. City drives are kind of a thing that we do whenever we do drive, which isn't super frequently, but we drive every now and then. And then great escapes like going to New Jersey and upstate. With class exclusive Google built in, it's your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. And gone are the days of like, hold on, let me put the car in park so I can actually sync my phone and get going. No. That ain't a problem. That ain't no problem. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into that 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure, like it was for my last adventure where I needed to rent a car. Just saying. I'm just saying. Just saying. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. And if you are an NFL fan, which I assume a lot of you are, yesterday was the open of free agency, which was fun, wild. I'm a Giants fan, so I got to see some of the best players on my favorite team go to teams that I can't stand. Saquon, Xavier McKinney, but Devin Singletary. But Florida Gators, they had something that we haven't really had too much of lately, which is we got to watch a Florida Gators player, a former Florida Gator, go in free agency and be a highly sought after free agent at that. And it was Jonathan Greenard, formerly of the Houston Texans, which, I mean, dude deserves all the money in the world strictly for what he did on a Todd Grantham defense a few years ago. But Jonathan Greenard, 4 years, $79 million contract, gives him one of the highest average salaries per year for an edge rusher, which is wild to see. But $42 million guaranteed is also one of the highest for an edge rusher. 12 and a half sacks last year, 52 pressures last year. I kind of love the fit of him going from the Houston Texans, where he did have a couple of very good seasons strung together, and it was kind of under the radar big seasons. Like you look at the prior years there, and it was like, well, they suck, so who cares? And then, of course, 2023 was the year where they started playing well as a team. He started playing well as that kind of 1A, 1B duo with Will Anderson. And then now he goes to the Minnesota Vikings, which is really fun to see. And if you're looking for someone that like, oh, you can see that jump in production, that's what you're going to see with Brian Flores, because it's just an incredibly aggressive defense. And I know that there were a lot of people that were rather confused about Jonathan Greenard getting $80 million, really. I'm not too sure why. He's one of the better run defenders. Like, that was a huge thing he did when he was a Florida Gator, was that he was a pretty good pass rusher in college and at Louisville and Florida. But he really separated himself as being a pretty good to great pass rusher and also being a pretty good to great run defender, which is just something that you don't see frequently. Like, we talk about all these guys as elite pass rushers, and so many of them kind of suck when it comes to defending the run. I mean, Florida Gators fans, were you not sitting here last year watching Princely Umanmielen play as a pretty damn good pass rusher? And then watch run, which again, I know that some people have different opinions on him as a run defender, but like seeing those plays where it's just like just eating the block instead of going to make a play there and things like that. Like, how often do we see that from good pass rushers? You just see, oh, I'm a good pass rusher. Like, those are the money downs. That's what really matters. I don't got to worry too much about the run defense. But like Jonathan Greenard's getting $80 million to be a great all-around player. It's not Bryce Huff, who signed with the Eagles. He's useless on run downs. He's just not a good run defender. So there's that big difference as to why he's going to get $80 million from the Minnesota Vikings. And this is just one of those signings where, like, I don't know how you watch the NFL. I don't know how you pay attention to professional sports because I know everybody does things differently, especially for those that care about pro sports and care about college. But like, this is one of those ads where if you're a Florida Gators fan, like you just like to see guys get put in good positions, which Jonathan Greenard got put in good position with the Houston Texans, especially in the 2023 season, and then turn that into a big payday and then still be put in a good position. And like that's the fun thing about watching what's going on with Jonathan Greenard in terms of his NFL career is that he's developed year over year with the Houston Texans. He really took, like I said, he really took a big jump this past year when they made their playoff run, and it was kind of sick to see. Just watching him again get that opportunity to develop and to grow and to just continue improving. But he went from rookie, didn't play much. Second year, kind of broke out a little bit. 2022 was banged up. And then 2023 had a big year. He had 53 pressures. He had 12 and a half sacks in the regular season. And then I think another 2 in the postseason. He led the team in sacks. Like he was a wrecking crew off the edge. And then now he's going to one of the most disruptive defenses that is probably losing their top edge defender. So he's going to be the top guy with the Vikings now. And it's just sick to watch that consistent development, consistent growth, and then to see him still be put in good positions. Like that's stuff that as a Florida Gator fan, I think you have to love, right? Like you have to look at that and go, yeah, like you love to see Florida Gators eat, right? And that's exactly what's happening with Jonathan Greenard here. So I just love it. I love the addition. I'm a big fan of Jonathan Greenard, have been since he was a Florida Gator. I'm not going to pretend that I was a huge fan of him at Louisville. Didn't really watch Louisville, so I'm not going to say that. But I'm glad to see him get paid, get a big money contract. And he was like one of the first guys to sign to, which is usually a pretty good indicator of how they're valued by the team in addition to the contract value, which pretty good contract value. But hey, Minnesota Vikings, I don't know who the hell is going to be their quarterback, but Jonathan Greenard is going to be their top edge rusher. We're going to head to basketball for the Florida Gators because they did have a few guys get all SEC honors and some awards, which is pretty fun, pretty sick. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But first, a quick word from FanDuel. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought by FanDuel Sportsbook. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on, guess what? Every single game of the tournament. Whether you're betting on a big upset of a 1 seed, 16, I will always hold to that. One of my first bets ever was betting UMBC to upset Virginia that year. It's plus 900. Which thinking back, like now that I know more about odds, is wild that it was plus 900 only. But whatever. It's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money line, betting on who's going to win the entire thing. You can bet on who's going to the Final Four. There's a lot to bet on. I'm just saying, and I'm going to be doing all of it. That's the best part about March Madness is watching bets hit as they go through, and it's really fun. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. You can even bet Florida Gators because they will be March Madness bound. Who knows how far they're going to make it, but they will be March Madness bound. And don't forget that FanDuel is an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. To wrap up today's episode of Locked On Gators, we are talking about the Florida Gators basketball team getting some individual awards handed out to them. Obviously, now that the regular season is wrapped up. And I feel like 3 guys that nobody is surprised that they're getting awards. It's Zion Pullen got first team All SEC. Walter Clayton Jr. got second team All SEC. Alex Condon, all freshman team there. And it's wild to me that obviously Alex Condon is a newcomer considering all freshman team, but Zion Pullen and Walter Clayton Jr. also in their first year in Gainesville. Like it just goes to show what transfer portal Todd did this past offseason, where out of that first year where he got hired and then had the short turnaround and then had to get into the season, really wasn't a good look. When you look at who he brought in and the evaluation behind them, and it was kind of just like, oof, what the when he brought in those players, we were looking at them and saying, all right, like these are good ads. We believe in them. And then they got on the court, and it turned out that there were a lot of, well, inaccurate evaluations there. And then we look to what's gone on this year, and it's a complete 180 from what we saw. And I will say, like, yeah, we got to wait to see what happens in 2025 to see if it's a consistent thing that he's going to nail the portal or not. But when you look at the 2024 portal class, like, he destroyed it in every possible way. It's been wild. And like, it's weird because to me, I'm like, well, I feel like Micah Handlogden has been the most disappointing one, which he's not even disappointing. Like, and I'm not saying Julian Richwain or anything, because I didn't expect him to do much. He was kind of a guy where it's like, oh, well, if he plays, he plays. Like, he's going to have a decent shot. We know that, which even then he hasn't to this point. But it was never like, oh, yeah, we're banking on Julian Richwain to really click as a big time part of this offense or anything. Like, there was never that expectation upon him. But Zion Pullen coming in to run the offense, Walter Clayton Jr. coming in to be the primary scorer for the team, and then Alex Condon coming in as a freshman there. You had Micah Handlogden, Tyrese Samuel. You brought in a lot of good players where most of your minutes are going to portal guys. And so great evaluations there. But also when we talk about the four factors that Todd Golden likes to live and die by, the four factors there, you look at the stats, and it's effective field goal percentage, offensive rebound percentage, turnover percentage, and free throw attempted. And of course, you want to see a high 3-point attempted rate. But like when you look at those guys specifically by those metrics, Walter Clayton, effective field goal percentage, I mean, 52.8% is great. You want to be at 51-ish, which Zion Pullen's at 49.7. Alex Condon's at 48.3. Free throw rate, Walter Clayton's lower at, but then you also look at his 3-point attempted percentage rate. 55% of his shot attempts are from three. You're not going to get to the line a ton when 55% of your shot attempts are from three. But like Zion Pullen, 49% free throw rate. Alex Condon, 57% free throw rate. Like, those are numbers that Todd Golden likes to live and die by, and those analytics. And then offensive rebound percentage, don't care too much about it for Walter Clayton or Zion Pullen as their guards. But you look at Alex Condon, he's at 10.8%. That's like, if you're double-digit percentage for offensive rebound percentage for a big, love it. Like that's what you're kind of looking for. And as a team, they've done that. Even turnover percentage. I feel like Walter Clayton Jr. in recent weeks has had a few major costly turnovers. But when you look at turnover percentage, Todd Golden's like, hey, you want to be below 16%. Alex Condon's at 18%, which when you consider his touches, he doesn't get the ball a ton. And so when you consider his touches and turnover rate, like, yeah, it's a little high, but he's also not touching the ball a ton in situations to turn it over. And so it kind of minimizes that. Whereas Walter Clayton Jr., Zion Pullen, believe Walter Clayton Jr. is like 13%. Zion Pullen's at an insane like 7.5%. It's ridiculous. Like Zion Pullen can get twice as bad with turnover rate, and he's still in that percentage that Todd Golden wants you to be under of 16%. So like, you look at, this is the approach that we kind of expected to see from Todd Golden. And also these numbers get sent out to the Locked On Gators subtext insiders, where if you want to join that, it's joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGators. It's first 2 weeks free, $5 a month after that. But like, you look at the players that Florida brought in from the portal this year, and effective field goal percentage wise, Walter Clayton's in the green above 51%. Tyrese Samuel's at 58%. Micah Handlogden doesn't shoot that much, but his effective field goal percentage, 65.2%. You look at like the guys that he's brought in have done that so well. Free throw percentage, Zion Pullen in the green, Tyrese Samuel also in the green, and Tyrese Samuel in the green for offensive rebound percentage. Like, you could argue that in terms of what Todd Golden looks for analytically and that efficiency rate, and I'll pull up the turnover rate for Tyrese Samuel and see where we're at on that. But like, you could argue that with the portal from the 2024 cycle and what Todd Golden looks for from players and just the team analytically, you could argue that Tyrese Samuel is the most or the best fit for turnover percentage of 13%. So he's also below that 16% line that Todd Golden's like, this is as bad as you want to be, is 16%. So you could argue that Tyrese Samuel is maybe the most Todd Golden fit of the transfer portal ads. Zion Pullen's been fantastic. Walter Clayton's been fantastic. Micah Hanlogden has been very good. Again, and I said earlier that he's maybe the most disappointing. He's still very good. It's just I feel like a lot of us had insane expectations for him, which again, our fault, not his. But I mean, you look at just the efficiency rate here, and it's no surprise. Riley Gould, not one of the more efficient guys. Doesn't have the effective field goal percentage. Doesn't have the free throw rate. Doesn't have the offensive rebound percentage. Is he above 16% on turnovers? That's probably right. Yep, 17.1%. Like he's maybe the least efficient Todd Golden efficiency or Todd Golden fit that there is. But you look at just what he's done in the portal with all these guys, and then it's getting kind of confirmed with Zion Pullen, Walter Clayton, Alex Condon, again, high school, but Alex Condon getting those accolades and that recognition. And it's kind of awesome to see, right? Like Todd Golden, for all the criticism that I've given, that so many people have given, it's kind of cool to see his basketball players get that recognition that they really deserve and that this team's been looking for. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free wherever this in the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow talking more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33. And as always, I will see you all next time.